So in this section, we're going to learn two different ways to multiply, different from what we're used to. So I'm pretty sure you can multiply 129 times 123 using regular multiplication or a calculator. But we're going to do this first with something that is attributed to Russian peasants. And the idea is there a way to multiply when the person doing the multiplication hasn't really ever learned their multiplication tables? And the answer is, believe it or not, yes there is, as long as you can add, and as long as you can add something to itself, and as long as you can cut stuff in half. So if you can cut stuff in half and add stuff to itself, you can multiply. So here we go. You start by picking one of the two factors. It doesn't matter, I'm going to pick this first one. And you cut it in half and double the other one. So when you cut this in half, you get 64, remainder 1. When you divide this by 2 or cut it in half, you get 64, remainder 1. Remainder 1's too hard, so you just throw it away and call it 64. In the other one, you add it to itself or multiply by 2, but you can add it to itself. And if you need to, you can put a little 1, 2, 3 in there so that you can look at it and see it. Okay. But that 1, 2, 3 is really not part of this process. It's just an aid to help you. And so you cut this one in half, get rid of any remainder, although there is no remainder. And you're adding this one to itself or doubling it or multiplying it by 2. And you're cutting this in half and you're multiplying this by 2 or adding it to itself. And cutting in half and adding to itself. And cutting in half, and instead of adding it to itself, I'm going to times by 2 just because I can. Cut it in half and add it to itself. Cut it in half and add it to itself or multiply it by 2. And now this little guy and this little guy, these are all little pieces that are extra. They're not part of the process, they just helped me calculate. And now we've done that. Notice we didn't have to multiply by 7 or 5 or 4. We didn't have to multiply to know any multiplication facts. Thus it was good for peasants who evidently, most of them, didn't have much in the way of education and didn't know multiplication facts. Now, in this column that we chose, that we divided by 2, we cut stuff in half, in it you look for any even numbers. And I guess peasants knew even numbers. And so 64 is an even number, so we cross off that whole thing. So is 32, so is 16. Anytime you have an even number, you cross it out. This is not even, this one is not even. And then you simply take whatever's left over here on the column that you doubled things. You take whatever's left, which is this and this, and any more, you know, if this had been on 15, for instance, we would have taken this number as well, and you add them. And this should be the answer to the multiplication of these two numbers. So I decided to check it by doing a regular multiplication, which I felt much more comfortable doing, but I had to use lots of multiplication facts. Nobody's saying that this other way of multiplying, due to evidently Russian peasants used it, nobody's saying it's faster or better in any way, except that you didn't have to know multiplication facts, and you could get the right answer, and it's kind of weird how that works. So let's do a second problem with these exact same numbers. 129 times 123. So we're going to do a lattice multiplication. It might help you, I don't know, to put in these lines darker. It might help you think about what's going on just a little better. So we have a 1 times a 1 is 1, but we got to put 2 digits in, so we put in 0, 1. A 1 times a 2 is 2, so we put in 0, 2. A 1 times a 9 is 9, so we put in a 0, 9. A 2 times a 1 is a 2, put in 0, 2. A 2 times a 2 is a 4, put in 0, 4. A 2 times a 9 is an 18, put in a 1, 8. 3 times 1 is 0, 3. 3 times 2 is 0, 6. 3 times 9 is 2, 7. And now to get the answer, we've done all the work. To get the answer, we add up on the diagonals, starting on the lowest right. That gives us 7. Coming in here, we have 8 plus 2 plus 6, that's 16. Carry a 1. Coming in here, we have 1 plus 9 is 10. Plus 5 is 15. Plus 3 is 18. Carry the 1. Coming in this way, 1 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 is 5. Coming in this way, 0 plus 1 plus 0 is 1. And coming in this way, we have 0. So reading them, starting here and wrapping around this direction, we have the number 15,867, which is what we had here. And so those two kinds of multiplication are the things we're taking out of section 4.5, and you should be able to produce work like that.